It's been over a decade in the making, but today, September 21st, 2024, the Phillies have the chance to win the National League East for the first time in 13 long seasons. Tyler Mroz, Heat Ratio Sports, Phillies pregame show, and the magic number. They already clinched the postseason last night. The magic number to win the National League East for the first time since 2011 is one. One win tonight, one win tomorrow. That's all the Phillies need. And they officially clinch a top 3 seed in the National League. And we mentioned they clinched the postseason last night. As outstanding 12-2 victory led by Alec Boehm, who had 4 RBIs. He had 4 hits as well. Nick Castellanos came through. He had 2 RBIs. And then also JT Realmuto with that home run added another 2 RBIs for the Phillies. So phenomenal game last night. Their offense has been really good during these last 2 games. We'll get into that in just a little bit, but it's really come down to the pitching. You look at yesterday's game, they finally had competent pitching and they blew out the Mets. And you look at the Thursday game, they scored 6 runs, but they still lost by 4. Don't always win your games when your starting pitcher gives up 8 runs. But today, with the chance to clinch the division, Ranger Suarez, 12-6, a 3.05 ERA, has been a little bit inconsistent since coming off of the injured list, but nonetheless, he's been one of the Phillies' best pitchers for a majority of the year. Just got to adjust my screen real quick. There we go. That's a lot better. I didn't realize that was like all the way to the top. But Sean Manaea having the best year of his career, 11-5, a 3.35 ERA. But we'll get into why this may not be a good game for him in just a little bit. Lineups today, no changes for the Phillies. I said this during the post-game show last night. I was not anticipating any changes to this lineup whatsoever. It's another lefty. You just scored 12 runs against a left-handed pitcher. I mean, it wasn't all a left-handed pitcher, but you dominated the Mets left-handed pitcher yesterday. Why change it up? So no changes tonight. Sosa and Weston Wilson are playing. Rob Thompson did say, I think he said he was strongly considering making it official that Bryson Stott and Edmundo Sosa would platoon at second base. So I've been calling for that for quite a while because Bryson Stott's not the greatest hitter against lefties, and Edmundo Sosa is just too good to keep on the bench for too long. So him in a platoon role is perfect. So I really like that move. And for the Mets, Francisco Alvarez is back at catcher, still missing Francisco Lindor, but no timetable for his return. But no JD Martinez today for the Mets. He's usually their DH. Hasn't had a hit since September 9th, so he's really been struggling recently. He can tell he's starting to finally show his age. I know he signed later in spring training this year, but I don't know if it's that and he just didn't get off to a good start, or if he's finally showing his age. I mean, he's in his high 30s. I believe he's 38 years old, 39 age. He is 37, so high 30s. So this is a guy finally starting to show his age. I mean, he hit over 30 home runs last year, and this year he only has, I believe it's 16. So tough stretch for Martinez, but keys to the game. And I always say, it's the biggest game of the year. Right now, this is the biggest game of the regular season for the Phillies because obviously you clinched the division and you don't have to worry. Now you're only fighting for that 1 seed, which is going to be tough. But I'd rather strictly be worried about that rather than, what if the Mets start winning games and we got to worry about that division? Because right now, the only team that can take the division from the Phillies is the Mets. The Braves officially eliminated from winning the NL East. Their 6 consecutive season stretch of winning the division title is done. So we will be crowning a new NL East champion. And it's probably going to be the Phillies, but obviously 99.9% chance. It's not 100 because it hasn't happened today. Ball go boom. The offense has been phenomenal in this series against the Mets. 18 runs in their last 2 games, and they lost the first game by 4 runs. And we talked about it because Taijuan Walker gave up 8 runs, and there's not much you can do when you are giving up that many runs in 4 innings. So the offense really, really good, and they need to keep it up because Sean Manaea, do not let him make magic because this has been his best season of his career. But I said it earlier, he may not have a great game today. It's because the Phillies may be his kryptonite. A 1-2 record, a 5.68 ERA with 12 strikeouts, has faced the Phillies twice this season. Once in, I believe, May, and then the other was June or April. June. So it was May and June. He's given up 7 runs in both of those games. He's given up a run in every start against the Phillies. Even in the postseason, had that game where he's with the Padres. Rhys Hoskins hit the home run off of him. He gave up, I believe it was 5 or 6 runs. So yeah, Sean Manaea does not do well against the Phillies, and maybe that's going to be something for the triple play. So stay tuned to see what we got for that. But you got to stay focused. You saw, I don't know if you saw, but the post-game celebration, if you want to call it a celebration, it was just a quick toast. Rob Thompson made a little speech, just said it's far from over. Little speech, glug of the champagne, but that's it. So they're still focused. They look very focused. You cannot take this for granted. I know it is highly unlikely you blow a lead in the division, and it's highly unlikely at this point that you don't get a first-round bye, but you never know. So stay focused. Focus on the task at hand. Win this game. Then you don't have to worry. The past 2 nights, they had the chance to clinch the playoffs, and they went on a little bit of a losing streak. But just win tonight, and you have one less thing you have to worry about. You can potentially start resting guys. Like if you want to keep Harper, give him some time off, give Schwarber a day or 2 off. Just stay focused on the task at hand so that way you can focus on that 1 seed after this game. But right now, we're going to focus on what the HRS Triple play of the day is. So let's see what we got cooking now. We talked about how Sean Manaea struggles against the Phillies under 6.5 strikeouts at -155. Does strike a good amount of people out, but you look at his stats against the Phillies, 3 strikeouts, 6, 3, 2, 4. He has never struck out more than 6 guys in a single game against the Phillies. So I do like this. I know it's -155, but I still think it's good money. Johan Rojas, 2+ total bases at +285. This is more of an eye test rather than stats. Well, if you look at the stats, I mean, his 0-for-3 against Manaea, but Rojas has been hitting the ball a lot better since coming back from the minor leagues. I think this is a completely different Johan Rojas, someone who's making good contact with the ball and hitting it far. It's not like where he would only get a single, like a bloop single or a light ground ball to the outfield. No, he's hitting the ball in the gap. He's been hitting it to the corner of the outfield and stretching it to second and sometimes even third base. So I do like this tonight. Johan Rojas, 2+ total bases. Very good odds, too, at +285. Then you got Nick Castellanos to get an RBI, +180. Look at his stats against Manaea in his career. 5 for 13, 2 homers, 3 RBIs. The only Philly has faced Manaea that has multi-home runs against him. He's been on fire for even the Brewer series. He was doing very good the first 2 games. And then the Mets series, I mean, the whole offense has, but especially Nick Castellanos. So I like that, him to get an RBI at +180. And no number generator. Let's see what the number generator would say today, because I have the pick, but let's see what it would say. See if it agrees. 5. So the number generator is saying Alec Bohm. Oh, wait, no, Nick Castellanos. They switched it. So maybe, but that's not what I got. Weston Wilson to get a home run at +500. For those of you that keep up with the triple play, you know that I like betting on Weston Wilson when a lefty is pitching because Weston Wilson smashes left-handed pitchers. I mean, I really can't stress enough how much I love to do it because most of the time the bets hit. I mean, you look at his stats versus lefties this year. He's batting, loading. 14 of 39. So what is that? A 359 average, 422 on base percentage. That's a really good stat line. So I really love betting on Weston Wilson when he's in the lineup against the lefty because a majority of the time these bets hit. So him to get a home run tonight, I don't mind. I really could see that happening. And again, I could also see this happening. You going to win daily using that code HEAT, get the scratch and save deal. You could get a year for the price of 6 months. You never know what you are going to get. So make sure you are doing that. Now, second half, we always track the playoffs. Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani, insane. I think he just broke a record, the most games in a single season where he hits a home run and steals a base. That's like the 16th time he's done that this year, and that's a MLB record. So Shohei Ohtani continuing to do Shohei Ohtani things, which are things that we have never seen before. He's in the 50-50 club. Don't want to see this team in the playoffs, although their pitching is a little bit questionable. So that's the reason. And I think we may not see them because if the Phillies and the Dodgers get the top 2 seeds, it is impossible for them to face each other unless it's in the National League Championship Series. But again, the Dodgers have not made it there in about 3 seasons. Dave Roberts, not the greatest postseason manager, but they are playing the Rockies game 2 of 3 today. They are currently tied with the Phillies. Technically, the Phillies are ahead because the Phillies do own the tiebreaker over them. But as of right now, same record. If the season ended today, though, Phillies would be the number 1 seed. The Brewers, 2-game losing streak. They've lost both games to the Diamondbacks this series. They're 4 games back from the 1 seed, and you may be thinking, oh, 4 games, it's not that much. There's only about Phillies after this game have 1 against the Mets. They have 3 against the Cubs and 3 against the Nationals, so 7. So they're kind of banking on outperforming the Phillies in a 7-game stretch. That's a little bit of a reach, especially considering the Phillies have the tiebreaker over them. So not the time for the Brewers to start losing. Very likely they're going to be the number 3 seed. I've been saying this for the past month and a half, ever since I've started on here, that the Brewers, they just scream 3 seed. They don't do anything that's like mind-boggling. They have really good pitching, but it's nothing like elite or anything. It's really good, but it's nothing crazy. But they will win games because of that. But they scream 3 seed. Their offense is okay. It's a solid offense. Willie Adames is really good. William Contreras is really good. But besides that, I mean, they don't have a ton of guys you're too scared of to face in that lineup. So they scream 3 seed, and it's looking more and more likely that they are going to get that. The Padres, they are currently the number 1 wild card team. They walked it off against the White Sox last night, funny enough. They were up 2-0. White Sox came back, scored 2 runs, and then Fernando Tatis got a walk-off double, I believe. So they're currently 2 games up on the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks have been losing. Padres have been winning. So they are securing that number 1 wild card spot. Would get home field advantage against the 5 seed, which right now it's the Diamondbacks. They are 1 game up on the Mets. Mets lost yesterday. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll talk about the Braves, though. They're 2 games back. And starting on Monday, it's Mets versus Braves. So that's really where you're going to find out who makes it for that last wild card spot. Because the Braves did lose to the Marlins last night. They blew a 3-run lead. So losing to the Marlins at this point of the season, I saw a Braves account going crazy about how Brian Snitker's managing would get them over the hump for these last 7 games because they're better now than they were, 3 years ago when they won the World Series. I don't care. If you lose to the Marlins on September 20th, 2 games out of the wild card spot, that's kind of tough to make a case that you're going to be a playoff team and going to be a serious team to go against because Reynaldo Lopez is hurt. Spencer Strider, he's hurt. So obviously they would have Chris Sale go game 1 and probably Spencer Schwellenbach, I would say, for game 2. Maybe Max Fried if they want back-to-back lefties, depending on how Chris Sale does. But besides Sale, I mean, there's nobody frightening in that rotation. But all it takes is 1 game because wild card is a best of 3. You saw it with the Phillies. They had Wheeler Noah dominated in that wild card series the last 2 seasons. So, I mean, I don't know because the Mets, who they have, David Peterson game 1 and maybe Severino game 2. So I don't know. It's tough, but the matchup on Monday will be intriguing to see. But if the Mets say they gain a game on the Braves, then that means the Braves have to sweep them. And I'm not sure who has the tiebreaker right now, but it's going to come all down to what these teams do today and tomorrow, but ultimately what that 3-game series coming up. It's going to be fun. I'm going to try to find a way to watch it. It's just too good to not watch. I mean, the Phillies are playing the Cubs. I'll obviously be watching that too, watching some football. But you got come on. It's probably the biggest game of the season in the National League, the biggest series. So it will be very cool to watch. Now, the not just Philly moment of the night. There's one in particular that I want to highlight. So the Nationals, who the Phillies will be seeing next weekend, they just sent down their all-star shortstop, CJ Abrams. You may be saying, Tyler, this guy all-star. He's 23 years old. Why was he sent down? It's not because of performance issues. They confirmed that it was something else. This was allegedly, this is just crazy. So the game, 1 p.m. Nationals have a 1 p.m. game. The night before, CJ Abrams goes out, and allegedly he stayed out at a casino until 8 in the morning. This is all what's being reported. Jeff Passan tweeted out that this is what his sources were telling him, and the general manager of the Nationals did not deny that this is why he was sent down. So a pretty crazy story coming out of Washington. I mean, they reiterated that he's their guy. He's one of their future cornerstone pieces. But for right now, they're sending him down to the West Palm Beach for their AAA team. So pretty crazy development coming out of Washington. CJ Abrams allegedly staying out until 8 a.m. at a casino just a few hours before a game. When you got a game at 1 p.m. and you're staying out till 8 a.m. allegedly. I have to stress that word because this is my job as a commentator / reporter. I am reporting on these things based on what I've heard. So according to Jeff Passan and I've seen it a couple other places as well. I don't think Ken Rosenthal tweeted out anything, but according to Jeff Passan, allegedly CJ Abrams was out till 8 a.m. at a casino right before a 1 p.m. game. So pretty crazy stuff there if true. Juan Soto is okay, though. We talked about it yesterday. He was scratched from his start because of left knee swelling and soreness, but he pinch hit in the 10th inning for the Yankees, got an RBI double. He is going to be just fine. Big boost for the Yankees and for their lineup for the playoffs. But speaking of a left-handed outfielder, Cody Bellinger doesn't know if he's going to opt out. I mean, he has not made the playoffs with the Cubs since joining the team. They have vastly underperformed expectations this season. They bring over Craig Counsell from the Brewers. They signed Shota Imanaga. So the the Cubs were expected to be a lower wild card team, but they're not even that. They are currently 6 games out of that final wild card spot. Very, very unlikely that they make it at this point. And Bellinger signed a 3-year extension in the offseason. He has an opt-out after the first 2 seasons, and he said he's unsure if he's going to opt out and elect to test free agency. I don't think he would get more money than he's getting now. 3 years, $80 million, I believe is what it is. But he hasn't had as good of a year as he did last year. So if he had a better year than he did, and he had a chance to get more money with a better team, I think he would opt out. But I think he waits till after next year. And if the Cubs don't make it and he has a really good year, I do think that he'll opt out. But I think he will be staying on this Cubs roster. But this is all purely speculation. He said he was unsure. So that's all the news we have so far. Going to football, Joe Mixon, Texans running back, was officially ruled out for tomorrow's game. Dameon Pierce, the backup running back for the Texans, was also ruled out. So it's looking like former Ram Cam Akers is going to make the start. I drafted him so high 2 years ago. He was supposed to be my guy at the running back position, and he just underperformed, could not get it going. And then you had the Kyron Williams breakout. So Cam Akers in LA did not work out. So he's potentially going to get the chance to shine tomorrow for the Texans going into tomorrow's game. And in other news, Packers elevated Sean Clifford, former Penn State quarterback. You may be thinking, why is this big news? Well, it's because that likely means Jordan Love is not playing. He was limited at practice the entire week. So having a third quarterback elevated on your roster likely means one of your quarterbacks is going to be out. So I'm assuming Malik Willis gets the start tomorrow. Sean Clifford will be the backup against who they play, the Titans. And I think the Titans are actually favorited. I wouldn't underestimate this Packers team. But yes, A.J. Brown is also out for tomorrow's game against New Orleans. You had the report last week before the Monday night game that he was going to miss that game. And then Adam Schefter came out and said that A.J. Brown would likely miss multiple weeks. So I'm not expecting A.J. Brown to be back until after the bye. So no A.J. in New Orleans, and I would guess no A.J. in Tampa. And then you get the week off for the bye. And then who do the Eagles play after the bye? It's not the Browns, is it? Let's see. Yeah, it is the Browns. Wow. Yeah, I didn't realize they played them that early. But I would expect him to be back in time for that. They have a tough defense. Denzel Ward, their number one corner, one of the best in the NFL in terms of cornerbacks. So I assume A.J. Brown would be back by then. But again, he could be out longer. This is a hamstring injury, and these injuries linger. So you don't want to mess around with that, especially with a runner like AJ. He's a receiver, number one. Number two, he can go up and grab the ball, but he does run after the catch a lot. And when these guys who have injured hamstrings are running on a lot, it just makes it worse. So don't be surprised if he's out longer than after the bye. But I mean, you never know. All speculation, nothing confirmed at this point. All that's confirmed is that he is out tomorrow against the Saints. College football, week 4 is today. Big game tonight is Oklahoma and Tennessee. Huge game. Texas is playing UL Monroe. Arch Manning is making the start in that game, so that's pretty cool. Peyton and Eli's nephew. Really cool stuff there. But looking at the scores around, James Madison put up 70 on North Carolina. It's currently 70-44. That's an insane score. I've never seen a score like that off the top of my head. Temple's down 21-17 to Utah State. They're playing at the Link today. They are not going to get that stadium anytime soon if they're playing like that. But scroll and move down. Let's see. Final scores. Ohio State was close with Marshall, but they blew them out 49-14. Clemson gets back in the win column over NC State. Army crushed Rice. Shout out Uncle Danny. My uncle is at that game. The starting center on Army. Grew up in Mount Ephraim, New Jersey, which is just about 20 minutes from me. So shout out to him. Great stuff. Winning today with Army, but that's going to wrap it up. Don't think there's going to be a post game tonight, but there very well could be. It depends on what time the game gets done, but I would say probably not. And if I do get on, it's going to be closer to midnight later, maybe even by then. But regardless, I will be live here for the pregame show tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The game tonight is the only game for this weekend that is on NBC Philly, because Thursday it was on Fox. Yesterday was Apple TV. Today, NBC Philly. And then tomorrow it will be on ESPN. So if you want to listen to T-Mac, and I don't know who the color person is. I don't know if it's Kruk, if he's going to make the trip, or if it's going to be Ben Davis or Ruben Amaro. So tune in, listen to T-Mac if you want to get some Philly guys for the weekend. But regardless, maybe see you tonight. We shall see. If not, I will see you tomorrow for the pregame show. We'll be recapping everything, be recapping NFL Sunday. So have a good night, everyone. Enjoy the game. Stay safe. And as always, stay fresh, my friends.